What's up, guys? Welcome to week number 8 of my meet prep training. This is the final week of the strength block before I take another deload and start peaking for the meet. Overall, this was a really good training week. Definitely made up for last week, which means the fact that I feel a little bit beat to hell means that I am just where I need to be, because I don't have any nagging injuries or pain or anything like that, but I've just been feeling kind of tired. And weights have been feeling a little bit heavy from last week, but definitely was able to come back and redeem myself this week. Worked 4 doubles here with 345. This is just 5 pounds under my meet bench PR. So I'm pretty happy with how these were going. Was having a little bit of issues keeping my butt down on some of these presses, but was glad to still have the speed with that weight. The foot positioning that I ended up correcting later in the week cleared up any of the butt raise issues and the loosening right leg. So that was something I just needed to fix from a more technical side. I found that keeping my feet a little bit closer to the bench allowed me to still keep the knees out, which kept the hips tight, which kept the butt down, and got rid of any of that power leaking that I was having going on there for a few of the sessions. So these all moved really well. Was glad to have taken kind of a rep and volume PR out of yet another bench session. I'm really glad with how my bench has been progressing over this training cycle, and it is probably the strongest and the most confident I've felt with my bench press going into a meet. So looking forward to tapering into some heavier top doubles and singles over the next few weeks after the deload. Moving into squats, I ended up bringing my stance out just a little bit from the narrow stance that I've been using. This is something in between where I used to be and where I have been training for the last couple of months, and definitely seemed to help give me a little bit more strength from my glutes and hamstrings and my back. Since I think part of the reason I had slowed down was just trying to stay a little bit too much up, a little too upright, and relying too heavily on my quads and missing out on some of my hip strength. So this was a big improvement over last week. Ended up working up to a top double with 525. Looking to double 540 at my next training session, and then probably work into a handful of singles from there. One thing that I did do differently this week, which I had planned on doing during the peaking block but just felt like it was necessary a little early, was combining my squat and deadlift training into the same session. So what I did here is, instead of doing multiple sets, I worked up to just the top double and then shut it down and moved over to my deadlift training, where I kind of did the same thing. That way I could still get into the heavier percentage work that I needed to do, but now I'll be allowing myself a full week of recovery instead of trying to squat heavy and then pull heavy 4 days afterwards, since I think that just was a bit too much. So pulls went pretty well. Everything was moving a lot faster than it was, and I didn't get stapled to the floor like happened last week with 530. This is 500 as a final warm-up. Still pretty fast, still smooth enough, and still moving well, considering that I had squatted immediately before any of these reps here. So my hope is that the pre-fatigue from the squats does not overly interfere with the deadlift, but even if it does, it will give me a little bit more accurate picture of where my deadlift is standing, given the fact that I'll be pulling in a fatigue state at the meet anyways. After the pulls from the floor, I followed with block pulls. Was scheduled to hit something in the 550 to 560 range, but these were going so well that I decided to take an extra set and ended up finishing out the day with a 675 block pull here. So this is 605, went 650 immediately afterwards, and was just really, really happy with how these felt. Doing a little bit of a hip dip at first, kind of got a little bit more glutes and hamstrings involved, and you can see whether it's maybe the fact I had to go to my dark place just a little bit first, but the 675 actually moved even better than the 650 did, and I was really tempted to try for 700, but was warned by my training partners, who were just keeping me from getting a little overzealous, just to kind of take the win, shut it down, and go on for the day. So hit that, swapped the Duffalo bar, pause benches just with some regular bar 3-count pause benching. I'm going to be doing this for the remainder of the peaking block training cycle as well. That way I'm getting even more specific to the competitive movements and getting practice twice a week with my bench press. So that is it. No major changes other than that. Next week is a deload, which I feel I have definitely earned and definitely need. And then after that, things get fun, volume comes down, and we start to push some heavier weights leading up into the meet. So as always, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like it, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, and as always, be sure to check out the gym at www.savagegym.com.